Title: The Diverging Path. The moon hung low in the sky, casting a cold, silvery light over the dense forest that surrounded the * Manta network. Two humans, both agents assigned to assist the beings in their covert operations, made their way through the underbrush, their breaths visible in the frigid air. Their mission was simple: locate a missing artifact that had been lost in one of the hidden portals. But beneath the surface, both men carried a burden far heavier than any physical task. Ben and Marcus had been friends for years, bonded by their shared experiences and a silent understanding of their struggles. Both had been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, after serving on missions that had left their minds fractured by the trauma. The symptoms of PTSD, the flashbacks, the nightmares, the constant sense of impending danger, had haunted them ever since. But while they shared the same disorder, their paths were about to diverge in a way neither of them could have anticipated. Ben walked ahead, his hand gripping his flashlight tightly, eyes darting at every sound. The forest was too quiet, too still. His heart raced as he felt the familiar claws of anxiety dig into his chest. Every shadow looked like an enemy, every rustle in the leaves a potential threat. Memories of the past, the chaos, the gunfire, the screams, flashed in his mind, pulling him back into the nightmare he had never truly escaped. He hadn't sought help. He had told himself he could manage, that he could push through. But tonight, that choice would prove fatal. Behind him, Marcus struggled to keep up. His symptoms were no less severe. But unlike Ben, Marcus had received help. Months ago, a being named *Alira* had sensed his torment and intervened, creating a thought trail to help him process the trauma. Alira had taught Marcus how to navigate his PTSD, not by erasing the memories but by guiding him through them, helping him to regain control of his mind. Tonight, as the familiar panic began to rise, Marcus instinctively focused on the trail she had created. He slowed his breathing, grounding himself in the present, even as the fear threatened to overwhelm him. But Ben wasn't so lucky. Ahead, Ben's movements became more erratic. His breathing quickened, his hand shook, and his flashlight beam wavered as if he were searching for something unseen. He didn't respond when Marcus called out to him. His mind was somewhere else, trapped in a memory he couldn't escape. "Ben!" Marcus shouted again, his voice laced with worry. "We need to stay together." Quote. But Ben was already too far gone. The forest around him morphed in his mind, becoming the battlefield he had never left. The trees were no longer trees. They were enemies. The silence was the calm before the next explosion. His heart pounded in his ears, drowning out everything else. He couldn't see Marcus. He couldn't hear him. All he saw was danger. All he felt was fear. And then it happened. In his blind panic, Ben stumbled, crashing to the ground. He tried to get up, but the flashbacks hit him full force. Gunfire, screams, the choking scent of smoke. He clawed at the ground, his breathing shallow, the weight of the trauma pressing down on him like a vice. Marcus, hearing the crash, rushed to his friend's side. He knelt next to Ben, his heart aching as he saw the terror in his eyes. "Ben, it's okay. You're safe. You're not there anymore." But Ben didn't respond. His eyes were wide, unseeing, locked in the past. His body trembled, his breath coming in ragged gasps. Marcus reached out, but he knew there was little he could do now. Ben had been lost long before this moment. Suddenly, a soft light illuminated the forest. Alira appeared, her presence serene yet powerful. Marcus looked up at her, desperation in his eyes. "He's not responding. I don't know what to do." Alira knelt beside Ben, her hand hovering over him. But even she could sense the darkness that had taken hold. His mind has been fractured for too long, she said quietly. He's been trapped in the trauma without a way out. His path was always leading here. Marcus's chest tightened. Can't you help him? Like you helped me? Quote. Elira's expression was somber. I can't. Not this time. He never allowed the healing to begin. His mind has been consumed by the memories. And then, just like that, Ben's body stilled. His breath, once ragged and desperate, ceased. His eyes, once filled with fear, grew dull. The trauma had taken him. Not in a firefight, but in the quiet solitude of his own mind. Marcus felt a surge of guilt and sorrow. But before it could pull him under, Elira placed a hand on his shoulder. You couldn't have saved him, she whispered. He needed help long before this night. Marcus swallowed, his heart heavy. He had known Ben's struggles, had seen the signs, the way his friend had shut himself off from the possibility of healing. But Marcus had chosen a different path. With Elira's help, he had faced the trauma, walked the thought trail she had created for him, and slowly, piece by piece, he had begun to heal. Ben had chosen isolation, and now, that choice had cost him everything. Later, as Marcus stood at the edge of the portal, he felt the weight of Ben's absence. But Elira's words echoed in his mind, grounding him. Your mind is a battlefield. But you don't have to fight it alone, she had once told him. Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the calm that the thought trail still provided him. He knew that the road ahead would be difficult. But unlike Ben, he wouldn't walk it alone. He had chosen healing. Ben had not. And that made all the difference.